this is Serena with trendycellular.com, and I am reviewing the Sony Ericsson C902 phone today with the 5-megapixel CyberShot camera. Something I really like about Sony Ericsson phones, and this one in particular, is that there's like a lot of little customizable options. The alarm clock, for instance, might seem really minor, but you can set up to 5 alarms on this phone. I think that's really cool. Not only can you set 5 alarms, but you can, there's like all these options for how long you want your snooze to be, like 1, 3, 5, 7, 10, 15 minutes. And you can also alter how often it recurs. On a lot of phones, it's a 1 day, 1 time only alarm, or it's every day. This you can actually specify which days of the week. So if you have a schedule that's kind of all over the place, then you can set all these different kinds of alarms for yourself, which I think is really nice. The calendar function and the task function are pretty good in that regard too. You can sort of specify in terms of categories where it's going to fit. You can set reminders for yourself as well, which is really nice for a person like me who constantly forgets to call people back. So you can actually set yourself a reminder on here to call someone and embed the phone number in there as well, so that when it reminds you, you can just kind of dial directly from that little reminder, which is really nice. There's also a stopwatch. I like that a lot. I don't know why you ever need a stopwatch, but with the phone that I normally use, it's come to my attention on a couple of occasions that like a stopwatch would be really handy. I don't know, to see how long it takes for me to run from one end of my apartment to the other. I don't know, but it has come up. So I think that it's really, really handy and actually pretty clever of them to have put that in there. There's also like your password holder, where you can just put all your different sorts of passwords and whatnot. If you can hear that, it's sort of an annoying noise, but you can turn it off. That said, there are like a ton of different profiles on this phone. I don't really understand how they all necessarily differ. It's not just like loud or normal and silent. It's like meeting profile or like outdoor profile. I'm not really sure what difference those all make, but there are a lot of options that you can explore. So, making calls, obviously of paramount importance. I thought that it functioned rather well on this phone. There was a little bit of cutting out in terms of sound every now and again, but that was pretty minimal. And the speakerphone actually is really rather powerful. They have a voice dialing function on here, but I had some trouble with it. It prompts you to say a name after the tone to record, but then the tone never comes, and so then eventually you say the name, and then it prompts you to record in a quieter environment, despite the fact that you're in an environment that's silent other than your voice. So I wasn't really a fan of the voice dialing, but I frankly don't really know that many people who use it. They also have like a smart keypad, so that you can just start dialing the name of the contact, and it'll pop up. The catch to it is that it takes at least 2 keys before it starts showing you names. Like for instance, if I'm trying to dial David, if I just dial 3, it won't bring up my contact list. But if I dial 3, 2 for the D and the A, then David comes up underneath. So you just have to dial at least 2 buttons on those really annoying keys, which brings me to the topic of texting, which I touched on earlier. But basically, I mean, texts are fine, they're easy enough to send, they're pretty intuitive on every phone right now. The really big deterrent here, the really big drawback, is the keys. They're just really stiff, they're really hard to push down. That would be a deal breaker for me. I couldn't get this phone because of that reason. But for you, it might not be as important. Battery life too, pretty bad. I literally did not touch this phone for 3 days and it died after having like a full overnight charge. And because of the weird Sony Ericsson chargers, if you get caught somewhere and you don't have your charger, you're pretty much screwed, because they're just not compatible with any other make. Whereas there's like a certain degree of universality with a lot of the other makes at this point. Saving contacts is pretty run-of-the-mill. You know, you can put in email address and multiple phone numbers and birth dates and websites and addresses and whatnot. So that's really great. You can store a lot of information in the contact section. So I think that pretty much sums it up. My roundup at the end, pros and cons. Pros, awesome camera. It's really sleek. It's really sleek. I like the weight to it. There's a certain degree of durability. It's kind of sexy. And I like the little applications in here. As I said, the alarm clock and the task functions, the stopwatch. Those are just like the little extras that are the perks that sometimes take a phone, you know, over the edge between what you really love and what's just okay. Cons are the keys, first and foremost, as I've mentioned, just way too stiff. I also am not really a big fan of the fact that it's kind of like pseudo touchscreen, but not, and even in the touchscreen function, being the camera and video, you're still forced to use the regular keys. I don't like that you can't customize the soft keys. I think that's really silly. And that might be about it. Voice dials, kind of weird, but I don't use voice dials, so. To me, this phone is functional, but one of the most basic functions that people use their phone for these days is texting. So if there's an issue with that, you know, that's a big problem. That said, if you're huge into taking pictures, this is a great phone for you. But it really is, when it comes down to it, about the camera. And that's it. Thanks.